Good afternoon, everybody. It's 1:48 p.m. Still February 7th, 2023. Just thought I'd make a further comment on what's going on in Jamaica, and I guess everybody is feeling the temperature of the island and how people feel, especially over the last couple of days. We had the corruption thing going, the thing with Mr. Bolt. We had the thing with other people at NCB, people being defrauded. Then we have this major event now on the seatbelt issue and the chaos it's causing. And why it's causing chaos? Because like every other thing government does, the policy was not well thought out, wasn't thought of properly in relation to the people that these policies are being made to represent or being made on their behalf. And that's when a government is out of control, is out of touch, and simply end up losing a nation. Jamaica is sliding into chaos. In fact, it's already there. When you have a government that's so involved with so many negative things, then obviously it means it's affecting the country nationally and internationally negatively. Jamaicans outside of Jamaica in the diaspora are concerned about home. Most of us feel we have this tie to Jamaica that we're not willing to give up. Some people have said we're not going back because of what's going on and the fear factor of crime and violence and all of that. And I understand that as well. Because in thinking about what you want for the rest of your life, you want the best life possible. A lot of people have to be looking at options. As I said, some people decide they're not leaving the US, which is good because it's good for them. Some people are looking at other islands. And even in Africa, some people are going into Africa. Because there was one instance, one gentleman and his family came here and it didn't work out and he left from here. He came from London here first, then wasn't working out, so he went to Ghana. And there are other people out there. So one has to be really conscious of what's going on. And again, my whole effort, if you notice, is not about just coming and criticizing, but coming up with solutions. Telling people, you are the people that it's affecting most. You are the Jamaicans that it's affecting most. And therefore, you have an endowed responsibility to protect your interests. And if you sit there and allow these things to continuously happen and continuously turn in the wrong way, then obviously it's going to affect you, your future, and your family. I don't know what you're looking to achieve in the long run, but I would suppose that everybody on the island is looking for a better life, a successful life, one where you don't have to be worried about where your next meal is coming from. But so far, all that's happening in Jamaica is ignoring the fact that crime and violence is what's putting this country into the dilemma that we're now facing. And I'll always point and I'll direct you again. You look at everything that's happening and don't tell me it's not about corruption. Everything that's going on in this country is about corruption. Whether it's factual or not. Persons were saying to me when this law came out. In fact, one person that's close to me said, guaranteed, some of the parties who encourage this seatbelt law without thinking of the consequences or the effects it would have on people and their budget and their money, it's those persons who are going to be benefiting from the law. So I heard in a couple of reports, as it hasn't been confirmed by me, but that there were even government officials, government ministers who had a stake in importing a ton or trailer loads of car seats to be sold. And it wasn't shocking because, again, the brazen nature of people are corrupt. They're doing this and they've been getting away with it And so they continue to do it and will continue to do it. And then there was that report about certain ministers on the island in government, both previous and current, who have had no other major means of earning money, and yet these guys are worth from 40 million US dollars up to 100 and something million dollars. And doing what? They've been working in government most of their life, if not all of it. And all of a sudden, where are they getting all this money from? Where did it come from? The police needs to investigate current and past. If you're showing up that kind of money that was discoverable by persons, then what is hidden? And hidden where? And where did it come from? They should be compelled to explain every dollar, especially when these people have signed treaties with the United States, so-called, that whenever you come into Jamaica and you're trying to open an account and you live abroad, they put you through the rags, through the washing machine, the ringers. They put you through hell to open an account in Jamaica and want to ask you for all kind of stuff, in which case many of the times I tell you either give me back my money or stop telling me about the US, because the federal government cannot and does not, because of laws and constitutionality and privacy, cannot ask certain questions. If they catch you committing a crime, that's a different matter. But you come into Jamaica, you enter these places, and they're telling you about what the federal government is saying. Apart from the debilitating psychological trauma and shock that creates for a true Jamaican, that I am subjugating myself to a foreign power, then I'm not talking about me. I live in the US. I'm talking about Jamaicans who are here. You go to the airport and they're telling you about federal law. Why not pass laws and say the Jamaican law say you need to have this clear, that clear before you can get on a flight? Why talk about the federal law, United States federal law, or civil aviation, or FDA, whatever the names? Talk about this can't be done, that can't be done. Makes you look bad. Even if you're cooperating on those laws, make sure it says Jamaica law says you cannot do this, you cannot do that. You think you could go into any US airport and the US officials there are going to say, oh well, the Jamaican government doesn't want this or doesn't want that before you can board the flight. See how silly we sound? The whole psychology of racism is what's keeping us back, along with corruption. So we have to be careful what kind of messages we're sending to people and how we're sending it. It's like I'm saying, most people don't think of it as being offensive, but I think as you can get as offensive as one can possibly get when people start pronouncing, oh, he was the first black person to do this, or she was the first black person to do that, or the first black person to get a degree here. Because it sends a message that, why are we evolving? We suddenly make a mark in our lives where black people can now achieve these things because some major event. And who is doing the judging? And who is saying those things are factual? You know, it's offensive when a person achieves an objective, and whether it's was designed by racist governments to hold us back, or racist policy. It shouldn't be that, oh, she's the first black person to break this barrier or do this and do that. No. This person did what they had to do and fought against the racism that exists to achieve what they did. Not boast that she's the first person. Because it sends a message to the rest of the world that black people really can't get here. It's only the exception and not the rule. And in truth and in fact, if opportunities are given to anybody and they're educated, they can achieve objectives. And we should get away from that. It's racist. But that said, Jamaicans, all that's happening in Jamaica is not the result of the politician. It's not the result of the criminals. It's not the result of law enforcement. It's not the policy. It's not the result of corrupt judges. It's because the majority of Jamaicans sit there and accept the way of life that crime and violence and corruption is acceptable, because we lack the responsibility, or we fail to take responsible action on our part to speak up and stop this from happening in our own country. I remember in the days in Jamaica, if somebody came into your neighborhood and was robbing people in the neighborhood would get together and fix that business. This whole nonsense about vigilante action is nonsense. If you live in a community or you live in a country and the crime is being committed and you're sitting there under the guise that, oh, vigilante action is unacceptable and the police won't do their job, then what's going to happen? No, vigilante action is necessary where you have people committing crimes and the police are failing to take care of those criminals. And until you can prove yourself as law enforcement that you're willing and able to protect the society, then don't tell people don't take law and order into their own hands and in their own communities. In fact, it should be encouraged. I remember the days when government started some kind of, what was it, guard patrol or something like that, where they would encourage communities to get together and keep eye on your citizenship or your neighbors or your residents to make sure it's safe. That's what vigilante action is. It's not about turning into gangs and going around and just murdering people. It's about letting the rest of society or the entire society know that people have their eyes open. We're not going to put up with it, and if you move into our community and you're a criminal and you're doing this, we're going to put you out or put you in prison, or we're going to make the police come pick you up. But we're not going to sit here and knock our knees behind our doors while you're creating chaos for the rest of the nation. Because everything they're doing hurts you. And every time you sit there, and I say you Jamaicans, Jamaican people living abroad, living there, and if you are one sending guns home for a few pennies that could turn on you later, then you need to stop. You need to realize that life and people's our values should be significantly better than just being gangsters. This is not some TV line. You're taking people's lives for granted. You're hurting people. And when you are facilitated by judges and by police officers and by politicians to commit these crimes, they know better than you. And you own each other. And when a politician, and I'm saying this to people looking to go into politics, when you compromise yourself by allowing these people to take or get involved with your campaigning and how you run your political offices, then you're selling your soul. You're selling yourself to them because they own you. You don't own them. When you're shipping guns to these people, you don't own them. They take the guns, but they own you. And so I'm saying to all of us in a brief message, it's not the criminals or the corrupt that's causing this to happen in Jamaica. It's the people, the law-abiding people who sit there, close their eyes, cover their mouths, and cover their ears. And so these people think it's okay. So you need to recognize the fact that you have a responsibility to protect your own nation. You have a responsibility to step up. You have a responsibility to hold people accountable. You have a responsibility to expose those people who are involved in criminal activity, even if they're wearing a jacket and tie, they're wearing a medical gown, they're wearing one of those black robes in the courts. You need to step up, because that's going to send a message to all of those future criminals that they need to change focus. They need to change their plan of action to become criminals and become law-abiding citizens. The other thing is, We need to pay attention to poverty and crime. What we're doing about poverty, what we're doing about getting our children the education they need. As long as we allow the corrupt to continue what they're doing, it's not going to happen. So solving the corruption will help to make that happen as well. And what we're doing about protecting our children, our female children, our young children, our teenagers coming up from these persons who are trafficking them. Everybody knows somebody who is involved in these things, and you're not involved with it, so why are you allowing it? Go to social media and drop a dime. Drop the information. Make it public. Because I said, if you make it public, cover your face. Yeah, put on glasses, put on a wig, paint your face white, paint it pink. But go on social media and expose those people who you know are involved. Drop a name, drop a dime, drop who they kidnapped, who they didn't kidnap. Drop a dime on them and let the world know, so that again, the police can refuse to deal with it. And if they do go to deal with it, they're not compromised by taking bribery and all of that, because all of us know about the illegalities of those persons. Because that's what causes it, you know. A law enforcement agency knows a crime is being committed. They go over there, they confront these people. A lot of them confront them not with the intent to lock them up, but to negotiate a settlement. Alright? The only settlement that should be negotiated is you go to jail. We're taking you to jail. We're not going to beat you up, kill you, all of that. We're going to take you to jail with the evidence to prosecute you. But officers of the court, officers of law enforcement, you have to understand that when you allow people to do those things and you compromise yourself for a few dollars and cents, eventually that dollar and the cent is going to vanish. It's going to lose value. You're going to need more, and you can't keep going back to the same source because they own you, and now they're going to turn it on you to go commit some kind of crime or else. So let's forget the or else, Jamaica. Let's take our responsibility seriously. Let's work together to prevent crime. Let's expose the bad politicians, provide the evidence. And then as I have said, I tend to roll my words a little because I talk pretty fast sometimes, but bear with me. As I have said, if you're fearful of going to the police or being identified, one of the best ways to get the information out, go to social media, disguise yourself, and name names, give names. If those names and the information you're giving are correct, then the police can take action, because now we're exposing that fact, and the police themselves are now handicapped from going in and cutting their own deals. The same thing with courts. The courts, if you know about certain things and you expose it, the judges that were contemplating taking some money or favor under the counter from these persons, whether it's free food, a restaurant date, a trip abroad, or all of that is corruption and crime. It's fraud. It's stuff that we need to stop. We need to purify society, in short, and take action. Get on social media, get the information out, identify those people, and get the fact that once we expose them, we can deal with the crime. Thank you, have a good one, and keep yourself and your family safe.